The greatest thing that this book can do is to make someone feel a sense of resonance, even if it hurts. Just to know that you are not isolated in what you've gone through. To be held by a book is a beautiful thing, I think.
Hi everybody, it's Kara Price from Belletrist.
And Evan Liddell from Epic Reads, and we are here with the wonderful Jasmin Kaur, the author of When You Ask Me Where I'm Going. And this is a collection of poems and prose where she touches upon themes like immigration, reproductive rights, and feminism. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for being here. There's a poem in your book where you talk about entering womanhood. If you could read it first, that'd be amazing.
Sure. Baby girl, didn't your mother ever teach you that when these hips widen into the earth's arc, this body will no longer be yours? You will be baptized into womanhood by all the eyes that own you.
I can say for most women, there is a point in your life when your body changes. And I think that's why this poem is so relatable.
The experience is very similar with a lot of my friends where, you enter middle school or high school, your body starts changing, and suddenly you get told things like, oh, you can't wear that. And then you're like, why? And it's because, well, you don't know how men are going to look at you because of what you're wearing. You have to make decisions based around what, the gaze of men or the lust of men.
I think fundamentally, and a lot of women don't even think about this, like most men do not walk around carrying the burden of wondering if they're going to be safe.
Yeah.
And just like that, as a microaggression,
Absolutely,
is something that I think even women take for granted. That we don't think about it all the time, but the fact that we just get to a certain age and all of a sudden we're unsafe just by being women.
So there's also this pretty triggering point in the story where we find that Kiran, correct?
Yep,
Kiran, sorry. One of the main characters is raped by her fiance's brother and decides to keep the baby. So can you talk about what moved you to sort of go in that direction with the story?
Yeah. So I've always believed that for me to call myself a feminist, it means that I'm aware of the fact that what is right for me may not be right for another woman. And that's more than okay. I don't need to enforce my version of empowerment onto someone else in order for them to be empowered, because empowerment isn't one size fits all. So when it came to Kiran's character, her emotions were very, very complicated around choosing to keep a child. This is a young woman who has had her whole life kind of dictated for her and controlled. And when she was sexually assaulted, of course, it's like that's the ultimate loss of feeling power over yourself, or feeling like, control over your own physical space. So for Kiran specifically, the choice that was before her to choose to be able to choose to keep her child or not keep her child was really, really important, because for her to have an abortion when she didn't want one would ultimately be another invasion of her body. That was a form of violence.
Yeah.
So it was a process writing that of acknowledging the fact that being pro-choice means so many different things. And I feel like writing that carefully was really important to me, especially in the day and age that we're living in now, when, the rights of people with uteruses, their bodies are constantly, under attack through legislation, through physical violence, through lack of access to abortion. So I wanted to highlight the fact that there's complexity in choice. And to be pro-choice means to honor everyone's choices and not just some.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you think that, in the past 20 years in the Punjabi community, that the conversation has shifted around women's bodies, or if there's a lot more work to be done, or both? I'm sort of looking for if you feel as though there is a conversation shift.
I feel there's definitely a shift, but there's a lot more work to do as well. The conversation's shifting on social media now among Sikh women especially, where recently this year an Instagram account popped up which has gotten a lot of attention, called the Gore Movement, where one young woman started by sharing her story anonymously, of including the geographic location of where her abuser was, and then other women kind of coming along and sharing their stories through her platform as well, and all these stories kind of coming together in this one space, even though they are anonymous, but to basically say you are not alone. There are so many people that have gone through stuff like this, and we have the right to speak about ourselves and not feel afraid of the retribution that comes from being honest about your experiences. So spaces like that have been like so empowering. I feel to just like for people who have experienced sexual assault to feel like they are not alone, and to feel like in our community, to be able to talk about these things openly within our community, it's huge. And so things are changing, and I want them to keep changing.
Yeah, of course.
But we have more work to do, definitely.
I would imagine that your book is a contribution to that change, or would feel to many women like a contribution to that.
I hope so.
Change.
I think that's my intention. I think, the greatest thing that this book can do is to make someone feel a sense of resonance, even if it hurts. Just to know that you are not isolated in what you've gone through. To be held by a book is a beautiful thing, I think. So I hope that it does that.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Please stay tuned for another episode with Jasmine where we talk about immigration.